We're going to jump right into the United Motorsports moment of the week. We actually have, we're gonna what do we have? A through J is what we kind of going to go through here. Jett, massive comeback from his massive get off at Hangtown. Still banged up, but was able to have one hell of a rebound race with Hunter. And he's definitely back in this championship fight. He rode well. He made the passes, made the moves that he needed to do, rode smart. There's a lot of racing left in this series. What did you see from Jett, Jase?
I mean, yeah, it was a huge weekend for Jett. I mean, I think to talk about Jett this weekend, we've probably got to talk about Sexton.
Yeah.
I think that this was a weekend where it feels like the whole championship almost was hanging in the balance. This was the first time in over a year where we saw Jett make this kind of mistake, especially outdoors. And I mean, he shed a bunch of points, shed the lead. Then Sexton has one of the best rides ever. I mean, just
Yep.
a one moto format ride, and then that puts Jett in this weird position this week, right? Where it's like, dude, how good was Sexton? Like, I have no reference point of where I was at compared to his Moto 2 speed, And I feel like this weekend, Sexton really dropped the ball and almost let Jett off the hook, because now if you're Jett, you just go like, oh yeah, I mean, that was just a bad weekend for me. We're watching Sexton's crash. Was that in Moto 1, I think, or
I
Moto
think
2?
so. Yeah. Before that big uphill triple, he came out. We're watching replay right here, and he just gets kicked, and then he hits this big rut on the wall there. You can see the big poof of dust,
Yep.
and just goes down.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, like Jett was flawless this weekend and did exactly what he needed to do. And I think so. Like the second moto, he passed Cooper with 2 minutes to go. So extremely patient ride, and that's a kind of injured ride, So this here, huge moment. Like again, like that's a massive crash. So Sexton's had two big ones on the day. But like this could have changed everything, like another kind of hero second moto ride that almost could have put a bit of a nail in the momentum for Jett, but instead everything just swung completely the other way.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely, he definitely made a huge mistake this weekend. He needed to keep the ball rolling from Hangtown. He wasn't able to do that. That crash that we just watched, Aaron, why don't you run that again? Right after mechanics area.
Dude, look
He
at how on the gas he is when he lands here. His front wheel does not touch the ground.
Yeah, he's just coming in super hot. I talked about that last night a little bit with somebody, and I felt like they may have come together in the end, but I just felt like when Chase came in here, he had the bike too far on a lean once he left that little jump, and he did more of the tires on the ground right here as he took off. He needed more of the tires square on the ground if he had any chance of number one, keeping it on the track so you could use the brakes, but also not doing what he did, having the tire only catching like 2 or 3 knobs on the side with that much speed, with that much angle. That was pretty aggressive, and the track also didn't have that tacky feel. Like I watched Race Day Live. I was able to watch the races. Everybody was fighting for a little bit of traction, either front tire or rear tire, especially under acceleration. You could see the bikes moving around a lot. We're actually gonna call this one the box out breakdown for Chase Sexton right now, since we're really diving into the mechanics of kind of what happened and what the big mistakes that were made, I should say, because he had, like you said, he had Jett maybe not questioning, but like he had one. That performance in at Hangtown was so good. He left every one of us, myself included, probably you too, Jase. Like, where did this come from? Where did Chase pull this out of? Because I had never seen him ride on the edge like he did. and also keep it
And looked
together.
good. Like
Yeah.
looked good. You know, it reminded me of you look at like he's got the KTM working in that way that produced like a Jeffrey Hurlings type ride. You know, like
Mm,
there were the years when Jeff was doing amazing in the MXGP on the KTM, and it just looked like he could push the bike so hard and it was so compliant, you know. And I think you would look at, maybe you felt like this at times in your career, riding like an aluminum chassis, where you were looking at that being like, man, I wish I could get like this kind of chassis to handle the way that Hurlings or Dunge or whatever. So it's like,
mhm,
in my head, I'm like, man, maybe he found that setting that let Hurlings be so comfortable and let Dungy be so comfortable. Like maybe he found why he went to KTM in that ride, you know. And I just think it
mhm.
was so important to put that level of doubt in everyone's mind. And a good performance at Colorado almost solidifies that, you know. And it's like, to be Jett, like he's never had doubt in his mind at all on a 450. I feel like that weekend would have been like the first weekend to put a bit of that doubt there.
Totally, he needed to stamp it, and I loved the performance that he put in. I said this on last week's show too. Chase needed that. Like I don't know if I've ever seen Chase ride that close to the edge. Also keep it all together. You know, he was
That
doing
never
everything
looked like
right.
it was, and never looked like it was sketchy. Like really pushing and really letting the bike do its thing, but it never looked sketchy.
Yeah, yeah. So that was this coming into Colorado after that Hangtown ride. That was a time to put a stamp on it and make the questions that we all had, probably with Jett too, like where did that come from, solidify itself. Well, it didn't happen because of his two massive mistakes, and just didn't really show up, you know. So he definitely has to, you know, I guess regroup, figure out, you know, how can he pull that out of himself again. But as we go, this is kind of a track record of what we see of Chase, right? Like he'll put
It's
in
a
a couple
theme.
stellar rides. Yep, it's the same theme, same. It's like this. We've seen this movie before, where it's he puts in a couple stellar rides and he surprises all of us, and then we see what we saw at Colorado, that big mistake. You can't have that with especially with this field, right? Like you have Jett being in the position that he's in after a huge mistake.
Hi, folks. Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.